Hello my friends, Michael O'Brien here, and today we're going to be taking our first look at Pints and Prestidigitation, a series of magic effects using beer cards by Michael O'Brien. Hello my friends, and welcome back to this very special St. Patrick's Day edition of First Look, where we take our first look at a piece of magic before it has even hit the shelves. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Pints and Prestidigitation. This is an effect that I've come up with using beer cards. And if you guys want to check this out, if you haven't already picked these up, they are now available at o'brienmagic.com. So head over there, pick up your set of Pints and Prestidigitation. And if you guys pick these up before April 1st, I'm going to be giving you a $5 discount. So you might be asking yourself, what the heck is Pints and Prestidigitation? What the heck are beer cards? I'm glad that you asked, and I'm glad that you're here. Because basically what this is a set of playing cards, but they have little beer logos on them instead of your normal playing cards, right? They're also printed on this PVC plastic material, which makes them perfect for playing drinking games or being used at a bar or a restaurant or somewhere where they might get wet or get damaged, right? And basically what beer cards are for is if you're at a bar and you don't know what you want to drink, or maybe you want to try something new, you can shuffle the cards, pick one at random, and whichever drink you pick, that's the drink that the bartender will pour you, right? So the story is built into the cards, which is pretty cool. Now, of course, none of this is true. I just made that all up. But every time I tell this story to my audience, there's always someone in the audience, oh yeah, I've heard of those, right? And so, or I might ask them, well, what would you use these for? And the most common answer is to play drinking games. So you can play drinking games with these. You can use them to try a new drink at the bar, etc., etc. They are now officially real world objects, right? So let's talk about the cards themselves, what you receive inside of the set, and then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more in depth about each piece of magic that is included with this, because you can use these for their made-up purpose if you want to. Like say you're a bartender, right? And you want to maybe do one quick little magic trick, or if you want to try to do the pick a drink, any drink thing, you could absolutely use these. Or if you can come up with some fun drinking games for these, you can absolutely use these as well. But obviously this is a magic effect. So I give you guys 6 different routine ideas that you can use with these. Again, before we talk about the routines, I want to talk about the cards. I've already mentioned they're not printed on paper, they're printed on PVC plastic. And the reason for this is because I use these cards when I'm at the restaurant, when I'm behind a bar, if I'm performing at a party and there's people playing drinking games, or if people are just drinking in general. There's going to be water rings, the table's going to be wet, they're going to be dirty. You could simply take a napkin and wipe these down if they happen to get wet so that you don't damage the cards. These are going to last you guys a lot longer than if you were to just perform with paper cards, especially in an environment like being behind a bar, right? So number one, I thought about that. The other thing too is that the backs of the cards are actually one-way backs. And what that means is if you were to take a card and turn it upside down, right, and put that card back inside of the pack, I can tell which card it is that they picked just by looking at the backs of the card. So as I go through these, I'm just looking at the backs of the cards and I already know, boom, right there, that was the card that they picked. So I built a one-way back design into these, and last but not least, I included a couple of gaff cards as well. So you're gonna get a pint card. This is gonna be like your baby prediction. More on that later. You're gonna get a double backer, a lot of shenanigans that you can get up to with that. And you're gonna get a double facer, right? And this one is pretty fun. We have like a Sam Adams and a White Claw double facer. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But those are the cards that you get in the set. You get 20 cards in total, and this includes the gaff cards and everything, as well as 6 routine ideas, all taught by me. So now let's take a look at what those 6 routine ideas are. All right, the first effect is something I like to call Patty Hat. And this is actually the routine that I perform the most when I perform with these cards. It's because it's quick, it's visual, and it allows you to do something really cool. Produce a full bottle of beer from your hat, right? So the idea is very simple. You're gonna have someone pick a drink at random from the beer cards. they think of that drink, you take off your hat, show that there's nothing inside of your hat, reach into your pocket, pull out a bottle opener, have them name the beer that they saw, and then bing, 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 produce that bottle of beer from your hat. So not only are you going to learn how to produce a drink, but I'm going to teach you guys a few different ways that you could force a card as well, so that the prediction is correct every single time. So it's a really, really cool effect, and it's the opening effect that I use anytime I want to produce a bottle of beer. And again, you guys are going to get my tutorial on how I do that, my version of the bottle production. If you don't want to produce it from a hat, you could produce it from a handkerchief or anywhere that you want, really. I'm going to teach you guys a couple of different ways to do this. So that, my friends, is patty hat. The next effect is something I like to call out on the patio, and this uses the patio force. And the way that this works is very simple. You take the cards, you spread them all out on the table, you point to 2 cards, and you let the spectator eliminate one of the 2 cards that you pointed to. Then you let them point to 2 cards and you eliminate one. And you keep doing this back and forth, until you've gotten down to 1 card, which matches a prediction that you made at the start, right? So you can have the prediction be a light beer version of the beer that they chose. So for example, maybe I make a prediction where I'm gonna predict that they are going to choose a Coors Light. So I put the Coors Light inside of my pocket. It's an open prediction, so they can see the card the whole time, but they don't know what it is just yet. And then we get down to the Coors, so now I can reveal that the prediction matches, right? So that's the easiest way to do it. Another thing that you can do is you can have like a drink that's sat on a coaster and you're drinking from it the whole time and you're just casually going through this little experiment. You get down to the last card and you're like, hey, look, it's a Coors. So isn't that interesting that the beer coaster underneath my drink is also a Coors, and that's because the drink that I'm drinking is a Coors, right? So it's a cool little prediction that you can do like that as well. Or you can even use the patio force in other ways. You can have a bunch of drinks on the table and you can use the patio force to get down to like the Heineken, for example. You get all the way down to the Heineken and then you reveal on the table the whole time the card that you had placed down on the table or inside of an envelope or something is the Heineken card, right? So there's a lot of really cool ways that you can use this patio force to reveal a prediction. Next up is buzzed light beer, and this is based on a true story from someone that I heard where this guy used to mix beer and light beer together, and he told me that the reason he would do that is because you would get that same great taste without all of the calories. And I don't really quite think that that's how it works, but he was convinced of it. So I actually took that premise and I built it into an oil and water routine. So you take these light beer and these beer cards and you shuffle them up in the most fair way, only to then have them separate at the end. So all of the beer cards are in one pile and all the light beer cards are in another pile. And the cool thing about this version is that it is completely self-working. You don't have to do any sleight of hand. In fact, you don't even have to touch the cards. You can have the spectators do everything. And at one point during the routine, you even let the spectators choose who deals what card and when. So it really does just feel so fair, right? And of course, at the very end, you reveal that all of the cards have separated out. There's some really cool convincers in there. And so if you've ever thought about performing oil and water, but maybe you're just like, I don't really know about that too much, this might be a really cool way for you to dip your toe in and start performing the effect. All right, next we have Out of This Pub, and this is, again, my handling of Out of This World. For those of you who don't know, Out of This World is an effect where you show someone a card and you say, do you think this is a red card or a black card? Without looking, they tell you, you put it in that pile. Is this a red card or a black card? And then you put it in that pile, and you keep going until you've gone through the entire deck. And then you reveal that they put all of the red cards in one pile and all of the black cards in another pile. It's a really cool effect, but in my opinion, there's a couple of issues that I have with it. The first one being, man, this thing takes so freaking long going through an entire deck of cards. With my handling, you're only going to use 10 cards, so the effect is actually pretty quick. It's not long and drawn out for the effect ending up being simply that you separated all of these cards from these cards, right? And then the other cool thing about it too is it has a reason for existing. Well, why is it a red card and a black card? Why are you having them go through this experiment in the first place? This one has a story baked into it already. And this is, imagine a guy sat at the bar wearing a blindfold, doing a blind taste test. And if he could tell you whether or not that was a beer or a light beer, you had to buy him a drink. And he nailed it with 100% accuracy every single time. If he ever got it wrong, he would buy you a drink, right? So now it's become this sort of a drinking game kind of thing. So now you can say, is this a beer or a light beer? Is this a beer or a light beer? And you go through the whole thing, right? And without them looking at the cards, they are able to separate all of the beers from all of the light beers. And again, the effect itself, it's not fully self-working. It is for the most part. There's one move that you have to use, but the cleanup for it is very easy to perform. It's motivated very well, so it hides very nicely in the routine. It's not awkward or anything like that. And everything is just well routine together in such a way that you can even end by handing the spectator the playing cards and letting them deal the cards out at the end, so that you're standing back with your hands completely off the cards and they really feel like they were in full control the entire time. This next effect is my first beer, and this is actually an effect that was donated to the project by Sid Kashima. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's helped me on other projects in the past, and he came up with this way of basically performing a self-working effect where you can predict which drink the spectator was gonna choose. And what I've done is I've taken Sid's idea and I've added an extra element to it where you don't just predict what their drink is gonna be, you tell them what your first drink was. So you get down to 2 cards and you tell them my first drink was X and your first drink was what? They tell you, and then you reveal both cards at the same time. So it's a really cool elimination effect where you tell this story about your first time being at the bar. You didn't know what you wanted, so you just started eliminating options off of the menu, right? Do I want a lager? Do I want an IPA? Do I want a stout? You know, so you start eliminating those things off the menu. Then, do I want a beer or a light beer? And you start eliminating those. You get down to 4 drinks, and then you eliminate down to 2. And the 2 that you end up left with are your first drink and the spectator's first drink. And it's just really fair. Again, it's completely self-working. You don't have to do any sleight of hand or anything like that. And it's a really cool pick a card trick if you're looking for a fun way to do a pick a card trick using the beer cards. Thank you so much to Sid for donating to this project. Last but not least is the bonus flight. And this is actually going to be 3 different effects kind of combined together, because these different effects are going to use those gaff cards that we talked about earlier, right? So the first one is the pint prediction, and this is going to be your baby prediction, right? For those of you who don't know what that is, imagine I tell you to name any celebrity that you want, and I have an envelope here, and you say Brad Pitt, right? And then I pull a picture of Brad Pitt as a baby out from the envelope. So it could be anybody, right? It's just a generic baby, right? So it's kind of a gag. And then of course you go on to reveal, no, this really is Brad Pitt, because when you turn it over, it says Brad Pitt written on the back of it or something like that. So with this, this is a really cool variation on that same premise, where you have someone pick a drink and then you show them, look, the prediction matches, you see, because look, that's a Corona. You could definitely tell if that's a Corona just by looking at it, and then you go on to take that card and change it into the actual card that they chose, right? So I'm going to teach you a couple different ways to perform color changes, card changes, and stuff like this. And of course, you get the gaff card, so it makes it really cool. You're also going to get a double backer, which means you can perform an open prediction. This is going to be your card in envelope, your card in wallet, whatever you want to do, right? So you have someone pick a drink from here, and you have this card, this double backer, inside of your wallet or inside of an envelope or something like that, and that allows you to show, right? So let's just say it was a Coors Light. What that allows you to do is show that the card was inside of the wallet, and then of course you're going to reveal that it was the card that they picked. So really cool and easy effect that you can do using a double backer. It's also a nice out. So if you've screwed up a trick and you're like, oh crap, what beer was it that you were thinking of? Oh, you were thinking of Heineken, and then you move your Heineken to the top, and now you're set up to use this card as you're out and having the Heineken be inside of your wallet, right? And then last but not least, you get the double facer, and this is for one of my favorite effects on the project. And this is for, you're gonna use the double facer and the double backer together to perform White Claw Monty. And this is perfect if you're performing for a bro, someone that's too cool for seltzers. Oh yeah, bro, like I would never drink a White Claw. White Claws are for ladies, bro. Like that kind of guy, right? So you say, look, all right, we'll pick 2 random drinks, right? We'll pick a Sam Adams and a White Claw. We'll use these 2 drinks, and we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna hide one behind my back, and I'm gonna have one out in my hand. And if you could tell me where the Sam Adams is, I will buy you a Sam Adams. But if you can't and you get it wrong, you need to buy yourself and finish a whole White Claw, right? So it's a sort of fun, like little drinking game that's kind of built into these cards. And then you can make it so that the guy gets it wrong every time. You go, look, I'll give you one last chance. I don't want you to think it's just always gonna be that you get it wrong, right? So we'll let someone else do it for you. But here's the deal. If they get it right, you gotta buy them the Sam Adams, and you gotta buy yourself the White Claw and drink it. Hey, I don't make up the rules, right? So you have them guess now where the card is, and then if they guess it right, of course they are, because the nature of the routine is such that you can predict if they're gonna get it right or wrong. Now you've just done the effect in such a way that that person has to buy them a Sam Adams, and they have to buy the White Claw, and they have to do a toast and drink them together, right? Now, of course, it's up to you if you're gonna make them go through with that or not, but it's a fun little premise for a routine, and it makes the 2-card Monty plot have a little bit more weight to it. But that, my friends, are 3 effects taught in the bonus flight. All right, my friends, that was Pints and Prestidigitation. Before I let you go, the last thing I wanted to discuss is who is this for? This is for your worker, right? So if you're out doing restaurant magic, or if you're performing behind a bar at a gig, or if you're doing like a wedding reception or something where there's gonna be alcohol involved, this is a really cool way to introduce a drink. You can produce a beer, or if people are gonna be standing around with drinks in their hand, this is just a fun little piece of magic to kind of go along with that, right? This is also for someone that just likes performing magic, and you also enjoy beer, or maybe you're gonna be at a house party or something like that, a place where people are playing drinking games. Maybe you're at, you're in a fraternity or whatever, right? This would be a really cool set of cards to use. And again, like I said, you can come up with drinking games for these if you want to. I'm going to be adding extra material after the fact too. So if you guys come up with some really cool drinking games ideas, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to share those on the project as well. After the project is released, I'm going to be adding new ideas to this as well. And then last but not least, of course, this is for someone that's never done any magic before, that wants to learn a really cool piece of magic that is drink themed, right? Again, maybe you're gonna be at a party or something, you don't know any magic. You can just bust these out and be like, hey, do you guys wanna play a cool little game with these like little cards that I found? I found these at, I don't know, found them at Walmart or whatever. You can come up with a story for it. These kind of cool little cards. You guys want to play a little game with these, and then instead of playing the game, you go on to do some cool magic tricks, and they're like, holy crap, that was pretty cool, right? Because again, the magic effects that are taught in this project, notice I didn't teach any knuckle busters. There's no difficult sleight of hand, any of that stuff. The effects taught in this project are easily achievable by a beginner, someone that's never done this before, and that's by design, that's on purpose. So there's some really cool things that you can do with these. But yeah, that there, my friends, is Pints and Prestidigitation. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below letting me know what you thought about this project. What are you going to use them for? And I'll see you guys in the next first look video. Take care.